In today's lesson, we're going to learn the dance of dialogue, shifting from two people monologuing to two people dialoguing. And I'd like to start with a story. It involved several people having a meeting, including me and my partner. And at some point during that meeting, my partner said something that upset me. And after the meeting ended and the people went home, now was my chance to communicate and talk about it. But instead of communicating how I felt, I decided to use a different strategy, one that's rooted in curiosity about the other person and involves the art of asking open-ended questions. So I started to ask my partner some questions about, hey, when you said this, what did you mean? And by asking a bunch of questions, the process of what I call digging, I started to learn more about my partner's perspective. And I understood that what I was upset about was really an interpretation of what he said and had nothing to do with what was actually going on for him. In fact, I realized that I was reacting to a tone with which he said something. And underneath of that tone was stress and overwhelm. So here is a perfect example of where a situation can really go off the rails. Your partner says something with an irritable or impatient tone, and you interpret it as an insult, or you interpret it through a certain lens. When this happened with my partner, instead of expressing how I felt, I decided to ask questions, and I started to learn that really there was something underneath that tone. And when you find out what's underneath and you get to the heart of conflict, you really have involved yourself in the dance of dialogue, where two people now can address, looking in the same direction, the root of the problem. So when I learned that my partner was feeling stressed and overwhelmed and didn't know what to do, we could talk about that. The dance of dialogue is really about being curious about the other person. Asking questions like, what's going on for you? What are you thinking? How did you come to that conclusion? Where do you think that thought came from or that belief came from? It's asking open-ended questions with a sincere tone to really try to learn and understand another person. When I learned this skill, after years of practicing nonviolent communication, I couldn't believe how much more I began to learn and understand about my partner. And it just came from this one skill of sincerely asking open-ended questions. Often what happens in a conflict is we start expressing how we feel, and the other person may get defensive or start expressing what they feel, and it's two people monologuing, and nothing seems to really be connecting. And if you find yourself in a scenario like this, you can break that dynamic by asking an open-ended question that actually engages the other person. That's what the dance of dialogue is all about. Learning and practicing asking open-ended questions so that you can engage the other person in a conversation where two people are talking, two people are listening, two people are asking questions and engaged. Click on the link for a summary of this course where we look at all that we've learned. And I'll offer a few practices that you can really integrate very easily into your life and see the difference that it makes in your communication and in your relationships.